Your Honors, opposing counsel, members of the jury. Ask why. This is Whit. Whit moved around a lot as a kid, but as an adult, he chose to make his home right here in Midlands. He had a job here in Midlands operating a roller coaster ride. He fished on his days off. He worked for every cent he had. And to him, the summer of 2012 didn't seem to be all that different from any other until August 30th, when he found himself in handcuffs for a crime he didn't commit. This is Whit's story. Whit will tell you today that his troubles began in the summer of 2012 when a friend he hadn't spoken to in years, Cameron Poole, began working at the same amusement park where he worked. Mr. Poole's job as the ticket booth operator was to hand out either a standard admissions pass or a VIP pass in exchange for money, often cash. The prosecution today may tell you that Mr. Poole had a plan to cheat the park's admission system. Allegedly, he bought fake wristbands, fake VIP wristbands, and gave them to customers so that he could take a cut of the cash. They will tell you that this is a scheme that raised multiple red flags in both park employees and in financials. But they'll also tell you that the park's bookkeeper and CEO noticed this, but did nothing to stop or slow the scheme. Ask why. Because, as the evidence will show, they planned it. When the bookkeeper realized that people were catching on to their scheme, they developed a plot to take all they could from the amusement park and pin the blame on Whit. They planned that Mr. Poole would rob the ticket booth, taking all that untaxed revenue and escaping through a ride that they knew Whit often worked. They knew, doing this, they would get off without blame and pin it on Whit. Ask yourselves why, members of the jury. The bookkeeper and CEO stood back and watched their premium ticket sales drop and did nothing about it until August 30th. Ask why, in a scheme that dealt only with ticket sales and fake wristbands, a ride operator that dealt with neither would be needed. A former employee at the amusement park will come before you today and tell you that she saw these fake wristbands in the park far before Mr. Poole or even Whit began working at the amusement park. And she'll tell you that the moment she was fired, she had just discovered a set of nearly identical accounting books in the bookkeeper's trailer. Ask why. Because the CEO and bookkeeper were working alongside Mr. Poole to avoid paying higher taxes. You'll also hear today from the limo driver, who was the last person to see Mr. Poole before he escaped. She'll tell you how Mr. Poole made some phone calls in the back of her car. First to Whit Bowman. She'll tell you how Whit insisted that he wanted nothing to do with this plan. And then she'll tell you that he made a phone call to a mystery caller, promising to meet that person later at the bar. The prosecution today has the burden of proof in today's case. They must prove to you that Whit had the intent for these crimes to happen, and they must prove it to the highest standard our justice system demands, beyond a reasonable doubt. If you can think of even one alternative explanation based on common sense to the explanation the prosecution will give you today, you must find Whit not guilty. And if you listen closely in today's trial, we will give you this alternative explanation. That Mr. Poole had an accomplice, but it wasn't Whit. He was working with the bookkeeper and CEO who wanted to avoid paying higher taxes. Members of the jury, pay attention to what you will not hear today, because you won't hear that Whit committed these crimes. You won't hear that he wanted to help anyone commit these crimes, and you won't even hear that he was aware of the extent of Mr. Poole's plans. The evidence that we will show you here today will all point to the same thing, that Mr. Poole was working with the bookkeeper and CEO. At the end of today's trial, my co-counsel, Arjun Sharma, will come before you and ask you to find the only verdict that all the evidence will support, that Whit Bowman is not guilty. Thank you. Thank you.